Welcome. It's Matthew David, the Minister of Allowing. All right. Let me get things queued up real quick. All right. I'm just checking out. I had to whip this all together. This is all coming to me so fast. So when you're out there, just give me a hello. Let me know you're here, and then we'll get things queued up. I've got a lot of notes to go through. It's going to be exciting tonight. If you guys understand what I'm talking about, you guys will. Get a pen, get a paper. Welcome, Matthew Smith. First one here. Welcome, Tracy. Welcome, Renee. Welcome, Milana and Betty. Welcome, Randy. All right, so let's see if we got everybody. I'm going to look in the group quick and add some people. And I think some people might be trying to add. We'll see. Okay. How's everybody doing? Give me an update. Tell me how you're doing out there while we get queued up. This one might go a little bit longer than usual. We'll see. I do have some things to get through, and I want to talk to you about a new workshop. And I'm adding some people right now that are trying to add to the group. Let me know how you're doing. I want to read it off. I want to see you get a pulse on everybody here, because there's a purpose for tonight. Very powerful purpose for all of the madness that's happening here. So let me just quickly send out a, let's see, a real quick announcement that we're live for anybody that didn't get the message. Just want to send one more announcement out to a list that I have. There we go. And we are good to go. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. Let me look in the live feed room. So anyway, welcome Joel and Betty and Patrick, Ethan, Ingo, Bria, Angel, Joel, Bernita, Sabrina, and Craig. My favorite people in the whole world are here. You guys are awesome. Dennis. Okay. Beverly's here. Cameron. Okay. So, you know what's exciting about tonight, guys, is I've had another revelation, and, you know, God is living through all of us. And the less of us that shows up in our ego, the more of God that presents itself. And I surrender every day to God, and that's my highest aspiration, is to let go and let God. And God is, through flow state, God is putting so much content that I can barely contain it. You know, when God says the kingdom is here at hand and you can barely contain it, it literally is true. So we've got some massive material to cover tonight. Huge, huge breakthrough. How would you like to know why you procrastinate, if you do? How would you like to be able to get a conceptual understanding of what's happening? And more importantly, how would you like to be able to do something about it so that you could become relentless in your pursuit of getting everything you want? Relentless. You see, your willpower won't do it for you. You're using your willpower now. If you don't have what you want, it's because you're relying on willpower. Willpower is useless. It burns out, you know, anywhere between 1 and 3 minutes, 4 hours at the most. It's nothing. It's nothing. But if you can get a certain part of your brain to desire and go on the hunt, you can have unlimited, unstoppable, relentless pursuit of that. And you can accomplish what people say is superhuman. Because, well, I'll get into that. I got to go through my notes. I got to show it all to you. I got to show you everything. You may or may not have seen this ever before in your life. Chances are you probably have never seen this. So first of all, let me look at some of the notes here. Gustavo, welcome. Erica, welcome. Matthew Sanders, Chris Ramos, Marisol, Patrick, Sergio, Shilbe, Dimitri, Dave. All right. Tom, Brandy, Jonathan. Good to see a bunch of faces showing up here. All right. You guys know what's up. So first, before we get started, I do want to let you guys know I am so jacked. I am so excited. It's one miracle after another around here. I am going to bring to you guys high-speed remote viewing and remote influencing and instant flow state training at the workshop in December in Puerto Rico. So I believe we have 17 or 19 spots filled. Okay, now that could be single or couple taking each spot, and that's for the 33 max for our cap on that. So it's first come, first serve on priority lodging. So if you want to get involved, I highly suggest you do. If you're scared of the price tag or scared of the travel, perhaps you don't understand what flow state means. They did a study on flow state, and they found that being in the flow state allows you to achieve on average 400 to 700% more productivity than not being in flow state. So when people ask me, they say, well, how do you accomplish all these things? To be honest with you, I barely ever work. Most of the time I'm working out or doing other things. But when I do, I'm in flow state, and that's how it happens. So they discovered that if you do flow state like Monday and Tuesday of every week, your organization, if you teach flow state, can produce up to like 11,000% more productivity in flow state. Now, that has everything to do with procrastination, and everything's going to tie together. So I want to just encourage you, if you want to learn this and you want to, rescind back to your natural state of being, which is flow state, you can be trained how to do this. You can be trained how to do this. It's not theory. You can be trained how to do this. So if you're sick and tired of being caught in the labyrinth of your mind, and you're tired of just running in circles, well, as I told you, I'm going to lead up to that all the way until we get to December. But now is the time to lock in your VIP ticket if you want access in Puerto Rico, because I promise you that within 3 weeks, these seats are going to be sold out. All 33 tickets, whether it's singles or couples, they'll be gone. And that's it. I can only do one of these a year. You don't want to miss this. I have set up a very special assignment that I'm going on, and I'm going to learn from one of my spiritual mentors. It's going to cost me around $10,000 to go out and sit with him and train on how I can be more effective at training everyone at my workshop in what I naturally do, but he has the ability to show me how to break it down into the mechanics. And just like everything I do, I teach the mechanical structure of how to replicate the miracle. See, the miracle is only a miracle until you can replicate it. Then it becomes a natural order or a natural sequence of a divine law that's already present. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm so excited about it. I just want to encourage you. It's going to be the time of your life. It's going to be the training of your life. All right. So details are at allowuniversity.com, or just message, Sabrina, call 888-550-8231 or organicsabrina@gmail.com. Get out, get a hold of her, state your claim, put your stake in the ground, say, I'm going to be there. All right. So Jonathan, Chris, Pratibha, welcome to the broadcast. Nolan's here. Good to see you, my friend. I missed you the last couple workshops, but I'm sure you're planning on Puerto Rico. You get that passport lined up. Tyrus, we got Colin here. We got Lisa. There we go. There's Lisa. All right. So again, let me get my notes organized and we'll get into this. So I drew these notes up literally. I had a miracle happen on the spot. Of course, that's how God does it. So I'm going to get into the segue. I'm going to tell you the miracle that happened, and I'm going to go through the notes. So get a pen, get a paper. You're going to go along with me on this. And I'm going to take you into a little bit of an experience where you'll get to see how the force that is behind flow state is operating in your life, which is actually a blessing in disguise, and what you can do about it so that you don't have to rely on willpower anymore. Willpower, as I mentioned, is useless. So the first thing you can do is, if you want to get the written material and get access to a workshop that I'm doing for this training is going to lead into a 4-week hands-on workshop. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I am going to create a counterculture for you to plug and play with so that you can interact inside of a counterculture matrix, and it will allow you to get the feedback necessary to recondition and repattern what I call the drip. All right. Now, it's not the STD drip, so don't get confused. All right. A little bit of humor. I'm going to get into what the drip is. All right. So, all right, let's get into this. I was looking at the comments here. So you can text the word drip to the number 608-530-6658. Okay. And if you're not, part of this, you're overseas, whatever, you can't text this number, then you go to Hurtado, my last name, Hurtado, HURTADO.io. Join the Facebook group. It will be, the link is in the description for this video here that you're watching. It's in the Facebook group, the private Allow Ministries Facebook group, okay, where we live stream. So do this or go to the link later, not now. All right. Now, the next thing is I always want to encourage people, if you're new to my material, the 321 prosperity formula at MatthewDavidHurtado.com is the capstone. It's how I conditioned myself to trust God wholeheartedly and lean on his prosperity. Very, very, very important. Prosperity is not just money, by the way. It's all good things. Okay, so, all right. Here we go. Drip feed, Operation Drip Feed. So the drip is the dopamine reptilian instinct patterning. So here's your brain. Okay, you can see that. Now, your brain is a dopamine addict. Okay, just so you know, your brain is a dopamine addict, and there may be some nefarious powers through what they call cultural socialist engineering that have determined how you function at the most primitive level in terms of your animal instinct. Your animal instinct to go after things has been co-opted and hijacked, okay? So what you have out there is you have a lot of people who are sabotaging, and they don't have the capacity, and it's proven that the human attention span has gone to like less than a goldfish. It's 8 seconds now. So with an 8-second attention span, how in the heck do you think willpower is going to do anything for you? It won't. You need to move past willpower and get a certain part of your brain on your side. So this right here represents the 3-brain model according to Clotaire Rapai, and it's very, very, very critical. And one thing he says is the neocortex are the reasons people give you. They give you all the reasons why they do what they do. They're full of BS. People are full of BS. Never believe what they say. Never believe what they say. They're always lying to you, because the reptilian brain, the animal brain, always is the one in charge. The animal brain only cares about 2 things: survival and reproduction, period. End of story. The animal brain walks in a room and says, should I eat it? Should I sleep with it? Or should I kill it? It's looking, scanning the room all the time. That's all the animal brain thinks about. So the neocortex is a recent phenomenon. The neocortex, in terms of, what it does, has been strengthened through the indoctrination camps of the public fool system, and they teach you how to do one thing, how to memorize virtually everything. You become a mindless parrot, all right? You have mindless parrot syndrome. I learned this in school today. It's not thinking, it's memorization, but that memorization has created a high beta brainwave, and that high beta brainwave dominance is the new beta syndrome that's on the planet too. It's the betas, all right? So what I want to tell you is I call it this. I call it a reptile dysfunction. You have a reptile dysfunction. You're impotent to create massive action and succeed at winning if you don't get compliance from your reptilian survival instinct brain. Now, how I discovered this is my greatest tragedy was my greatest miracle. And I watched the lives of other people who had sudden and massive success seemingly out of nowhere. And I realized that this is what happened to them. And so I was able to look under the hood, and God showed me the mechanics of how that works. Okay, so until you get the reptilian brain on your side, what happens is you are constantly being inundated in a series of what I call false start ghettos. Okay, false start ghettos are these avenues or these pathways that seem to be through least resistance, where you go to get an instant dopamine fix so that your reptilian brain goes, I fed myself, I'm good. You know, and meanwhile, you're sitting there struggling. You got no money. You got nothing else going on for you, playing video games all day or whatever you're doing. The reptilian brain is pigging out on dopamine, and it's creating this syndrome of erectile dysfunction, okay? And here's some of the most common, what I call false start ghettos that are getting in the way, okay, of success. You have porn, you have gambling, you have drugs, you have social media, what I call the gamification of human behavior by the socialist engineers. You have the food with chemicals, okay? You have politics, sports, TV dramas, and dead-end jobs. How many of these, let's be honest now, how many of these do you regularly get fascinated by or spend some time with? All right, you think about that, and I'll welcome Stephen, Bobby, Vancito. Good to see you guys here. And, you know, Herb is here. All right. Now, how many of these, be honest. I had to do this myself. Okay. I'm what I consider probably a high achiever, but I had 3 things that I had to let go of. I had 3 things. Okay. And I want to tell you why it's important. Okay. So this is what I call the modern civilization. You know, the movie Idiocracy was a documentary, by the way. So if you can watch the movie Idiocracy, that was a foreshadowing of what was to come. That movie was made probably 10, 15 years ago or whatever, but they were foreshadowing what they were creating with the socialist engineering programs and the rise of the betas. So you got the rise of the betas, okay? Now, I'm not knocking the beta male. I'm knocking the beta brainwave dominance through the indoctrination of the hypermemorization, which strengthens the neocortex, and the neocortex is the weakest of all 3 brains. So you have all these people walking around reasoning with each other like, well, I just don't know about that. Well, the facts don't just add up. Blah, 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 blah. There's babbling. Reason means Rhea and son. It means the son of a descendant of a guilty mind. Reason is sin. Reason is sin. That's why when you're in flow state, you are disabling the capacity of the brain that shuts off those signaling for reasoning capacity. Okay, that's channeling, flow, etc. You're actually suppressing that ability so that you can allow the one mind, the one power, and the one presence to come through you. You become the instrument of the divine instead of the fallen state of who, what, when, where, why, and how that keeps engineering itself into its own pit. All right. So like I said, you have the indoctrination camp. They taught you how to memorize, and you got mindless parrot syndrome and beta brain. So this is what happens. And then what you have is, well, we have what I call broken heart dominance. And broken heart is when the spirit of fear came. So the broken heart is when the spirit of fear came. So when you look at it in a certain way, what you see is that, okay, I would like to achieve something. Well, okay, that sounds great. But my brain, my animal brain, the reptile back there is like, you remember that conflict? You remember one of those conflicts, that AIRE, according to German New Medicine, the abandonment, isolation, rejection, or resistance conflict? One of those conflicts is right in your center. It's right in your now, and you're living vicariously through the past in the conflict, in the present moment. And so what's happening is the brain sees that because it's living in a time-bound matrix, and it says, oh no, wait, there's porn, just 5 seconds. Wait, there's fast food on the corner. Oh my gosh, wait, no, I've got it. There's political talk we can get involved in. Oh, I know, fear porn's on. We got to go watch that. See, that's what you call procrastination. It's actually a very primitive force of the reptilian brain taking over in order to get something that is a false start. I call it a false start ghetto. So yeah, the beta fish that is the most vicious, right? Lisa says they eat each other and anything else. Well, the beta males eat each other too. The betas out there are eating each other. So, well, look at them, okay? This is a bunch of insanity on the planet. I mean, can anybody get along anymore? Can anybody get along anymore? No, it's left versus right, Republican versus Democrat, this color versus that color, this nation versus that nation. It's just insanity. Okay. It's nowhere near the state of flow. So the reason why this is important, okay, and I call it the socialist engineering, okay, is because this is what the brain is doing. And by the way, if you haven't seen my webinar about why minerals are so important, okay, see, in the 80s, they started stripping minerals out of the soil. And that's when the fast food industry also emerged and the fast food snacking industry emerged. Okay, so what do horses do when they're deficient in minerals? They crib, they snack, they go eat the wood. They're just chomping. They're never full, never satisfied. Well, there are documents from the U.S. Senate that I have posted in my webinar that they know that if the minerals are deficient in the body, the brain's reward centers are compromised. The brain's reward centers are compromised. So instead of going after the real reward of value production, what happens is the path of least resistance is the flow of all of these dopamine ghettos. Porn, caffeine, politics, social media, TV, fear porn. You have all of this stuff, sports, drugs. I mean, how many people are on drugs these days? It is mind-blowing. Why are they on drugs? Because the reptilian brain is looking for a fix. Okay, this is a big, big deal. So the reward centers have been derailed and hijacked. The reward centers of the brain have been derailed and hijacked. Okay, so happiness comes from real value production. True, that is psychosis pleasure. Okay, we're talking about real to the core joy, happiness comes from value production. It doesn't come from any of these false start ghettos. These are horrible, horrible abominations to the natural design, the natural order of things. Okay, so what happens is we have the high beta, we have the loss of flow state. And it's been substituted with the neocortex with reasoning. Okay, so we're always reasoning and we're always doubting. Reason leads to doubt, which leads to the who, what, when, where, why, and how, the 6 degrees of separation through the 3 kingdoms. And it's far away from the flow state. So when we reason, we are out of flow. So 400 to 700% more productivity in flow state on average. And you have, organizations that do flow Monday to Tuesday, they have up to 11,000% more accomplishment than an average organization. So this is why I propose, if you want to do this workshop, I have set aside a Wednesday night. I will not be live streaming this Wednesday night for the regular Allow Ministries broadcast. Maybe Sabrina will do that. Maybe we won't do that this week, but I will be broadcasting in the private group for Operation Drip Feed, and I will be doing the 4-week class every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central with an immediate replay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everyone into the strategy, and I'm going to create the feedback mechanisms that's required through the social engineering to socially engineer the pathways back to what I call the original design, back to the hunt. Okay, now here's the miracle. I want to tell you how I discovered this so you don't think I'm just blowing some, superfluous words at you. What I'm saying is when I had Lyme disease, okay, and I fell to my lowest point and I felt the great experience of pain. That was the blessing that broke all of the connections to all of those false start ghettos that had kept me broke for most of my adult life because I was just like everybody else. Oh yeah, I'd want to build my business. Oh, I didn't do it this week. Oh shoot, I just didn't. I don't know why I didn't do it. I feel so bad about myself. In fact, oh no, now my self-esteem's even lower because I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and the cycle goes on. How many people can relate to that? Well, if they're sitting in your chair right now, then just open up your ears and listen, because I want to tell you that it wasn't just me, okay? So when I hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, everything switched. And my reptilian brain kicked in and it said, money now. Survive equals money now. Survive equals money now. I became a freaking money monster magnet. I went from 0 to 6 figures, like literally overnight, to 7 figures in 2 years. I was a monster money magnet because it wasn't willpower. It was that animal brain on full hyperdrive, and that animal brain was guiding me. It was dragging me. I was working 14-hour days without a care. I was just going and going and going. I was driven. See, the opposite is what most people call procrastination. See, procrastination is your check engine light that tells you that you have a bunch of false start ghettos that are stealing your ability to turn on the full potential of your real power. That's what it is. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight tonight, and I'm going to show you the dysfunction that the brain is doing. So how do you join that group for Wednesday, Melinda says? And welcome, Connie, welcome, Brad, welcome, Sylvia. Is what you do is you can just go to the link that's in the description of this video, Operation Drip Feed. I have the link up above, or you can text, again, text the word drip. Okay, let me find my sheet. Hold on. I drew all these up in like 2 minutes here. Hold on. So you can text the word drip right there to that number and get that and read it on your phone. Or I've got it all laid out. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to read the full story. So you'll see, click for the full story when you click on the first landing page, okay? I want you to read the full story because I'm explaining you in words what I'm telling you now. So, okay, now my best man in my wedding, his name was Dave. Okay, so Dave had an interesting phenomenon happen to him as well. Now, he was going through problems in his relationship at the time, and his wife had left him for another guy, which was very painful. And she had said some things to him that she said, he told me his own words, the thing that triggered him the most was when, you know, obviously she's off with another guy, going through a divorce, he lost everything. And she said, she called him a deadbeat. During his lowest point, she called him a deadbeat. Well, that was the pain that came in and just uncoupled him from all of his things. He told me in that moment, he gave up chasing women. He gave up all of these, what I call false start ghettos in that moment. See, he didn't have to think about it. His brain just instantly triggered itself. It felt that huge amount of pain, and he just made that crazy switch like I did, and he went into beast mode. He went into literal beast mode, and he built a company and sold it for $50 million 7 years later. So you divide 50 million by 7 and figure out the math of what that did for him on day one. You figure that out, because that's what happened, is he went into full-blown beast mode. Now, he had never built a company in his life, okay? He never went to college to learn how to build a company. I am here to tell you that when you get compliance with that part of your unconscious brain, you will be able to accomplish more in a day than you probably have ever accomplished in a year, because you will be coming from that crazy reptilian impulse that knows it, like, gets the unconscious mind on its side. You come up with genius. Your genius gets tapped, and you start to have relentless passion, unstoppable resolve, and you become unbeatable in every area. You're like a nut job that's been let on the loose, off the chain, out of the cage, and you just go after it with 100 balls to the wall, and you don't quit. And you have no freaking clue how you did it. It's just the brain just makes a switch, and it goes, that's it, I'm done. So recently, case example number 3. I told you case example 1, me. Case example 2, Dave. Case example number 3, Matt Sanders. Okay, I put his audio testimonial on the landing page. You can listen to it. He came here to train with me at the ministry. He is protege number 1 for this class. He's not the beta test. He's the protege number 1. So he came out here at 275 pounds, sores on his legs that have been there for a long time. Okay. And we're talking, you could probably fear this condition if you didn't know any better. Dry heaving, things going on that were not of God. All right. So he got here. Well, it's only been about a couple months. He said he's about 40 pounds plus lighter already. He's working out twice a day. He is locking down business contracts and deals that he had been, quote unquote, procrastinating on. Okay. I remember having a talk with him, and we talked it through one session. Okay. He had been procrastinating. He went and closed a deal right then and there within 5 minutes that he'd been sitting on. You see, this is what happens when you get that unconscious part of your brain triggered. Okay. This is how anybody can make this happen. All right. Now let me look at some of the let's see. Abel and Judy, welcome. And Jean and Crystal. Okay. So get your pen and paper. We're going to go through a pretty cool exercise. I've babbled quite a bit. Hopefully some of these drawings communicated you know, like beyond some of my babble speak. Okay. Because I know it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So hopefully you're getting this. I want you to get a piece of paper out. I want you to do an exercise with me. I want you to think about, you know, the last time you set a goal for something that was extraordinary that you really wanted to achieve, but yet failed to get it. So if you set a goal and you failed to get it, the only reason people fail is broken focus, which means your reptilian brain was hijacked through a false start ghetto. Okay, period. So why did that happen? Well, I'm going to show you why it happened. I'm going to show you why it happened. So what I want you to do is, with your piece of paper, I want you to go ahead and think of you in the moment of non-action, when you were complacent, or what they call procrastinating. Instead of crushing it, you were doing other things, which were probably like wasting time on Facebook, or maybe out drinking with your friends, or watching porn, or gambling, or any of the other things that the brain gets an instant dopamine fix for to tell you that you're okay. Any of those things in the moment when you were avoiding the necessary tasks to get what you wanted, I want you to look at yourself, okay, the way that you would talk to yourself in your head in that moment, okay? And I'm talking about the real talk. What did you say in your head at that moment? You know, like, I'm not good enough. I'm just not going to ever get there. I'll never be enough. People don't like me. This isn't for me. I want you to go ahead and just list all that junk out, okay? Put all that stuff down. Just go into the experience of when you were, quote unquote, sort of failing. And I want you to look at yourself in your own mind's eye and let that inner critic out. Let that inner critic reasoning mind out. And I want you to start listing out on your paper, okay? It's important that you write it out. Just flow all this stuff out of you. Just go ahead and write down at least 10 or 11 of these things, okay? I'll give you some time to do it. You know, keep doing it while I'm talking to you. Just go ahead, write them all down. If they sound stupid, write them out anyway. And just start putting this stuff down. So Vernita says, I have no fear, strategic plan and faith. Well, that's good. Very good. Welcome, Brian. All right. So as you're writing these down, all right, then I'm going to just take a pause, just take a break, give you some space. Okay. When you start getting done with this, start putting Y's up on the board so I can start to see that people are starting to finish this exercise. Just start putting Y's up there so I can see exactly what's happening. It's probably not the most comfortable exercise, because you actually have to look at that inner critic in your head and say, all right, let's document all of the crazy, you know, reasons that I've held against myself. But you know what? I want you to do it because there's an important reason why. I'm going to show you how silly and how absurd the reptilian brain puts together its logic. All right, so Brandy's done. All right. Now, don't worry if you don't get them all right now. I'm just going to show you a glimpse of what this is. This isn't for perfection here. That's another false start ghetto, is the striving for perfectionism. You know, striving for perfectionism is failure, like failure magnified is what it is. All right. So I want to give you the next assignment here because, all right, I don't think it's fear, but laziness. All right. Well, laziness is a false start ghetto too, because it's what you call laziness is not true. We're all motivated. We all have the same level of motivation, but laziness is a motivation towards complacency or leisure activities, because just addicted to that versus something else. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to list out just a few of your top false start ghettos. Okay. Like, you know, be honest. what gives you a quick dopamine fix that you keep going back to? Like for me, I had to put down caffeine. It used to be a lot of fear porn. I used to be really tied up in that stuff. I used to watch Alex Jones like every day. I used to watch all that crap, you know, all the fear, all the propaganda, all the political stuff that was on my list. I want you to list all of these things that are giving you that quick dopamine fix that you can think of right now. Okay. Just list them out. List out some of your false start ghettos. Not all of them, just get a couple of them. All right. So, yep, Brian says, my list makes me sad. Okay. Now, I'm going to segue right there. I'm going to segue right there because you just triggered me. See, God lives through us, and you are just the triggering event that's going to tell me the story that happened tonight. You guys want to hear the miracle that happened to me tonight? See, God works in the now, and the miracles are instant. I want you to stay with that sadness while we do this too. So here's what happened. I went out to my, what I call my field of dreams, where I go out and I run every day. Okay. I go out and I've been running really hard, just loving it. And today was a different kind of day. Before I left, you know, I was telling Sabrina, I go, I don't know how I'm showing up in the world. I'm sort of becoming a little self-conscious because I've been going out and usually I'd get compliments from people about how much younger I look than I actually am, which is crazy because I like that. Who doesn't like that, right? The ego loves that stuff. And then lately I've been meeting people and they're like, oh, let me guess, you're 42. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, that's exactly how old I am. I'm like, darn it. So I'm like, Sabrina, did I lose my mojo? I'm like, am I not appearing youthful anymore? I'm like, have I lost my youth? You know, I don't ever want to use my youth because that's like your childlike joy. And so, well, anyway, what happened was I was sort of down about it. And then I did the same exercise. Bria, don't feel bad. I did the same exercise, right? And what happened was I started to get really sad inside because I started to look at all of these things that I thought about myself. And some of these things were pretty bad that were, you know, taught to me at a young age. They were perceptions I made, judgments that I was still, memorizing. I was still in the memory of. And so what happened was I started to get tears in my eyes and I felt really bad. And I was like, crap, I'm like, this really hurts. But I know to stay with that. I know to stay with that, not to suppress it. So I was walking across the field and God said to me in that moment, God said, somebody in trouble is your doorway out of trouble. You will help them, and then you will feel the release from all of these things. And so I was like, well, great. You know, that sounds fantastic. Now I got to go find someone else to add on to, right? Well, anyway, in about 2 minutes, I'm walking down the field and this girl says, hey, what are you training for? And I like, listen, I'm like, did you say something? She's like, yeah. She's like, what are you training for? And I said, well, I'm training for, just being fit. And I was doing the SEAL Fit Kokoro Warrior Camp training a couple of years ago. And I wanted to train for that again. It's something I've been working towards. And she goes, I got to tell you, she goes, you like are in fantastic shape. She's like, I've been here 3 days in a row and I've been watching you for 3 days. And she's like, and you look like, how old are you? And I'm like, how old do you think I am? She goes, you look like you're 30. And I said, oh, praise you, Lord. I'm like, praise you, God, praise you. Anyway, to make a long story short, let me tell you what happened. So long story short is she had just gotten clean from meth addiction for 90 days. She's been clean. Last week, her mom died. A few months ago, her dad died. Last night, one of her friends died. She broke her back a few weeks ago. I said, you just went through all of this. And she said, yes. And I could feel the pain bottling up inside of her. And I said, well, who do you have? I'm like, what family do you have? And she says, I don't have anybody. She goes, I'm all alone. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to cry. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to cry. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, we were supposed to meet then. I'm like, I'm going to be your friend. I said, by the way, I'm a minister. I said, we should be friends. I'm like, would you like to run with me tomorrow? And she wanted to run. So I'm like, let's do it. So anyway, somebody in trouble was your doorway out of trouble. And God put that in the moment, That moment, right when God said it to me, it happened in that moment. God is a God of now. God is not a God of time. So I just want to tell you that. So it's a miracle, and that's how it works. So welcome, Tony. Welcome, Jonathan. Let's get back to the process. Now I want you to make a list, and I want you to put 3 things I desire more than anything. List 3 things right there. List 3 things I desire more than anything. Okay? And I want you to list those down. And I'll give you a second to get that done. Not a lot of time. I'm going to move kind of quick, okay? So, thank you guys for saying I look early 30. I really don't care like what age you peg me, as long as you don't say I'm old. Like, that is just like the curse of death, is when people say you're old, because nobody wants to feel old. Because when you stop moving, you start dying, because the physical body is your attachment to this 3D reality. And I'm like, for God forbid you stop moving and get old. Don't ever let an old person take over your body. Keep moving. By the way, minerals will help with that too, as well as your brain function. So, all right. So, Vancito says, you're not 50. Whoa. Thank you, Vancito. Thank you. No, I'm actually 98, Vancito, but because of my supplements, because of how good my supplements are, I actually look like I'm 50. You see that? You see how powerful that is? I'm just messing with you. All right. So welcome, Bruce. All right. So you got that part down. I desire more than anything, because, write this down on the next sheet, because then I would feel, as in, if I got those desires, then I would feel. Write down 3 things you would feel if you achieved those desires, please. Write those down. 3 things you'd feel. Okay. And I'll just give you a minute. This is not a thinking man's game. Don't try to put your reasoning into this. Just flow. Learn how to trust yourself and how to say screw it and just let go. Learn how to flow. Playfulness is the precipitator of flow. Like, playfulness is one of the key attributes that you have to learn how to, instill within your attitude towards life. You have to become playful. That's why you don't want to be old. Old people get serious and they cringe up and they lock up and they restrict movement and they're dead. It's just a formality when they throw the dirt on them. So you don't want to be that person. All right, so you got this. Now, here's what the formula that your brain is doing to you. Okay, I desire more than anything. This is your knowledge capacity. When you've seen the Luxor training, the bottom line is you have the knowledge capacity and you have what's in the heart. So what's in the heart creates the magnetic field and the knowledge capacity, and that creates your subatomic reality, your holographic expression of what's going on in your heart. So your brain says, I desire this because then I will feel this way. And in order to get it, I'm going to do these false starts. Okay. This is what your brain's logical. It doesn't have the capacity to think. Your reptilian brain is basically going on a false start binge episode, because initially what you had an error conflict. You had an abandonment, isolation, rejection, or existence conflict. And you're still in the memory or the trauma of that. Though that voice in your head is still accusing you, and it's still affecting your heart. And so you're going into the path of least resistance, and you're going into a false start, which creates a negative feedback loop, which also reinforces the air conflict even more, and it creates a stronger desire for the false start. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of destruction, okay? And it's not just procrastination. It's a lot worse than what they call procrastination, because your false starts guarantee that you will never get what you want. In other words, they are the very thing, these little addictions are the very thing that guarantee that you will never get what you want, as long as your brain sees it as a viable alternative to just instantly leap into the path of least resistance and get its fix on these. So what do you think we're going to do in the workshop? We're going to destroy and absolutely obliterate your false start patterns, and we're going to replace them with the actual behaviors of the high achievers that you want to model. And we're going to lock that in a culturally engineered platform. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do reverse engineering of what happened the first time. You were engineered to go into this pattern. So we're going to reverse engineer it right back to the other pattern. That's exactly what we're going to do. All right. So let's see. Laura's here. Welcome. All right. So tell me, what did you guys think? Okay. What did you guys think about what you learned so far? Did you get any insight into this, into what procrastination really is? And does it make sense? Just give me some comments so I know where we're at, because I got through that really quick. I thought it was going to take longer, but that was really fast. So let me know. And by the way, again, I do, let me tell you about the pricing. I'm just going to get into it. I'm just going to put it on the table. I'm going to say, bam, there it is. All right. So here's how I come up with a pricing, and I want you to see this. Now, I live by the law of the seed faith, the covenant. So I know that the only thing that I have to worry about my future is whether I'm in covenant with God and what my seed is, because my seed is the only influence I have over my future. And for those who give little, they receive little. Okay. Those who give out of the plenty, bountiful heart are God-like, because God is plenty and bountiful. And so this is a journey of moving past resistance and fear into absolute surrender of the ego will into a place of trust. No reason, just trust. And that childlike, innocent faith is what activates the kingdom that is at hand, because in order to have more than you currently do with your finances or any other area in your life, you have to move beyond your capacity to reason. Otherwise, you would already have it. Your reasoning is not it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So this is what it looks like. Imagine what you would like to earn on a monthly basis. How much money would that be? Okay, let's say most people say, well, I'd like to make $10,000 a month, or 30 or 50 or 100, whatever. What would you like to make every month? Just go ahead and picture that number in your mind. It's important. Now, what I want you to do is to be specific and mentally think about the actual number that you brought in the last 30 days. Okay, very easy math. I would like to make X amount per month because this is my excitement comfort level. If you don't know what it is, just take what it takes to survive on and times it by 3. That's your comfort level. And then I want you to subtract what you brought in the last 30 days, specific to the penny if necessary. Now, what the difference is your lost opportunity cost. So the amount that you're missing is what this already costs you. You see, rich people, wealthy people are not afraid of the same things that people that have little wealth are. See, people that have little wealth are afraid of losing the little wealth they have. Therefore, they squander and they hold. And when a person squanders and holds, they restrict the flow of life, which means less flow, and that means less cash flow. Okay? When you are free-flowing with life, then guess what? What you truly are afraid of is you're afraid of lost opportunity cost, because you know at every moment there is a greater potential for you. Okay? So that missing piece, that X amount in the middle there times 12 is your true lost opportunity cost per year. So if the average person says, I'd like to make $10,000 a month, I'm only making $5,000 a month, they're missing $5,000 a month times 12 equals $60,000 a year. So I said, you know what? What if I challenge people to say, you know, I will plant a $5,000 faith seed, knowing that God cannot be outgiven, and I will trust God, and I will take this workshop for 1/10 of what I am faithing in to receive. For 1/10 of what I'm faithing in to receive, $5,000. Okay. Now, have I ever done that? Would I ever ask anybody to do what I haven't done? Well, I've done that many times, many times. In fact, my greatest joy is knowing that I can do that, and I'll still be given more. See, I know that when I do, I will get more. Now, this isn't to beguile you and it's not to trick you, but as a minister, I want to encourage you to stretch your faith and step out of playing small. Now, I realize most people will say, oh, hell no, I'm not putting $5,000 in this training. Are you kidding me? I've got a million reasons why I can't afford it. And that's okay, because that's reasoning kicking in. And my job is to say, well, I want you to have the training. So I also have another option. Option 2 is 42% discount. It's $2,900. Okay. Why did I pick that? I have no idea. I just said, you know what? We'll cut it in half and we'll just make it somewhat similar. And if you want to do that, then you can do it for $2,900. If you want to faith in and you want to give $2,900, then you can faith in on that level. Okay. Now, some people are still saying, oh, God, no, this is just a heist. This is just another one of these prosperity ministers. He's just trying to get my money. I knew it. I knew he was just trying to get my money. All right. Well, if that's what you think, well, then I also have another opportunity. It's called option 3. And I'm offering this tonight only. If you want to take this workshop, I have a stipulation, but you can do it for $297, just $297. You can do this 4-week workshop with everything that I'm going to bring to you each week. Okay. To do this, in order to pick up that missing gap that's on the table. Okay. For $297, here's my stipulation. I want you to make a mental agreement with God, not me, with God, because God gave me this training, and as a minister, I have to give it to you. But if you have no faith and you have nothing to give, then you cannot receive. You must give first to receive. I'm asking you to make an agreement that you will give God the remaining balance of that $5,000 as you are blessed and as your prosperity increases, and you sow it to whatever ministry you're at that time, to wherever God is feeding you. I'm asking you to make that promise to God. If that sounds fair, then that's exactly what I'm asking for you. Okay. Now, the reason why I am trying to stretch you is because the number one condition is money lack that comes through the ministry. And there is no reason for money lack other than fear itself. You could not have a problem if you didn't have a fear in your heart about that problem. Now, the only way to break the back of fear off of your life is through the covenant process of Malachi 3:10. I promise you, I've done it, and I know. I used to come from a strong family of fear. Money was the most terrifying subject in my family. All right. My grandma had 2 heart attacks over money worries, and I grew up watching her do that. So I had a tremendous imprinting in my psyche over a fear of money. And I spent almost the first 20, 30, almost 30 years straight of my life broke as a joke, like bad, okay, like negative most of the time. So what changed? Well, God says in Malachi 3:10, bring ye the tithe into the storehouse and prove me now, saith the Lord of hosts, that I shall not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, so much so that you cannot receive it, and I will rebuke the devourer. That devourer is the curse on your life. It is the reasoning mind. The reasoning mind is the mind of the Babylonian debt slave system. That mind is the mind convincing you that you can never afford it, that you will always remain small, that you will never break free. That mind is your accuser, and the accuser is always Satan. So I broke the spine of back through the practice of tithing and sowing faith seeds. I remember my first $1,000 seed I sowed. I remember my first $5,000 seed I sowed. And I will tell you, there will be a day when I sow $1 million or more. And I look forward to that day, because that means that my level of trust and faith in God is expanded so great that there just may be a chance that I'll pass the exam in this school of self-mastery where we doubtful sinners have come to learn how to repent and trust God. I'm just telling it like it is. I don't mean to sound old-timey religious hellfire, but I'm just saying you're only here because you doubted God. And if you got money problems, it means you got fear. And the only way to break fear is through the faith covenant, through God's power, not yours. It's his grace that allows you to prosper, not your works, not your works, not your works. God never engineered you to be self-sufficient, so get over it. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about. I want you to think about this workshop. I want you to take a pause, close your eyes, take a breath, and just say, whew, glad that money part's over. Geez, that was intense. Oh, let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. Let all those fears go. Hey, you know what? If you can't do the workshop, don't do the workshop. I don't care. You don't have to do the workshop. I will always give you content, but the workshop is special. So just let it go. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about this. You know what this is costing you already to stay stuck in procrastination. You've added it up. You've looked at it from your own financial perspective through your own circumstances. You added it up. That's your lost opportunity cost. What are people really going to think about you if you don't achieve what you say you're going to achieve? Are they ever going to believe you if you keep saying you're going to do stuff and you never get around to it? How are your kids going to feel when you scold them for falling into the same pits as you do, those same false start ghettos, when you know and they know better? And how is this going to affect your relationship with them or other loved ones? Now, think about this. How bad will it get financially as this condition progresses? Because it is a condition. It'll always get worse on this trajectory until you break the cycle, until you hit rock bottom for most people. Most people need to hit rock bottom like I did, like Dave did, like Sanders did. You know, people need to hit rock bottom usually before they make a change. How bad is it going to get? What does rock bottom look like? What does it look like if you lose everything? And how are you going to feel in 5 years or even 10 years if you don't get this training now to rewire the habits once and for all? How's it going to look? How's it going to feel? So as soon as you're able, to emerge with relentless determination and to rise like the phoenix and to come into your full power, okay, if you could do the same thing and you could get that unconscious brain to go to work for you and you could move past this, believing in God, sowing your faith seed, knowing that God has ordained you to be part of this ministry for a reason, and God wants you to step into your power. And when you come into this power, how are you going to use this power? How are you going to use limitless resourcefulness, flow state? Okay. How are you going to use your flow state? So are you going to use it to manifest millions of dollars or a perfect body or, better friends, maybe a new Lamborghini, like Dave just bought his brand new Lamborghini Huracan and his Range Rover and all of his toys. I remember the days when he was broke. Okay. But he can buy those with pocket change. So what are you going to do with it? Okay. In 5 years, what is this going to look like? If you can do this, what's your next 5 years going to look like different than what they were on the previous trajectory? Now, can you feel me right now in this moment urging you to say yes to your full potential self? Can you feel that? The choice is yours. So you get to do whatever makes sense for you. I'm not going to convince you, but I am going to minister to you, and hopefully you got something out of this transmission. So if you want action and you want to get a piece of the action, then take advantage of it, because we're starting Wednesday night, and that's that. So questions, anybody, put your questions up on the board and let's talk about it. So Lakeisha says, very insightful. Awesome, Lakeisha. Good to have you here. Nessa, welcome. Ingo says, how many people are struggling with this? Well, how much? Oh gosh, pretty much everybody, because we're a nation full of immigrants, right? And so by that very idea, the majority of people struggle with it. The majority of people to some degree. So, all right. So Vernita says, yes. Bria says, awesome. Beverly, yes. All right. So let me go back down. We got a lot of comments up here. All right. Okay. So Brandy says, I can't take off anytime in December. I really want to be part of this next workshop. January is better. All right. Well, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll do one at the next time when you can do it. We'll let you know. We're going to always keep doing something. All right. So every time I comment, someone reports it as spam. No clue what's going on. It's going to stop commenting, but I'm here listening. Oh, Bria, I'm sorry about that. I don't know who's doing that, but they should stop. So let's see. Let's go down some more. I've got a lot of this stuff. Okay. Nolan says, Ruach, Holy Spirit, Ruach, Ruach. Nolan's over there chanting for the Holy Spirit, Ruach, Rach. All right. So Marisol says, what church did you say you tithe to? Well, for me, I tithe. Okay. In the beginning, I tithed to Unity Church. That was my first. And then I sat under the legacy of Mike Murdoch. I also sat under Edwin Gaines for a while, a little bit of Randy Gage, Kenneth Copeland. A lot of those same ministers are the ones that I studied under. And then obviously I've had a lot of private people that are my mentors that are behind the scenes. My current spiritual mentor that I tithe to is the woman who healed herself of the scorpion bite, the Christian Science lady. If you look up Christian Science scorpion, you know, she's miraculous. She has this amazing healing anointing. So I'm sowing into that healing anointing because it seems like what happened today, people are being drawn that need healing. And so I'm sowing into that anointing so I get that anointing, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prophesy over people and release healing onto them. So that's what I do. So let's see. Raph says, how do you get stuff done when you're a student, have full-time job and too tired? Well, okay. Well, you gotta realize that, okay, you're a student, you have a full-time job. So, oh boy, where do I even start with this? Well, those are two things I would never do, by the way, just so you know. So that's how I start, is that I would start from the premise of what's the fastest path to my joy. Okay. See, if you're in the fastest path to your joy, then the question is non-issue because you're already getting stuff done. If you're a student and your job is your joy, then you're already doing what you love. But if you're not doing what you love, why are you doing it? Because your reasoning mind tells you that you need to survive. Well, that's all a bunch of garbage. But if you believe it, that's what it is. See, people believe they got to fill their day with all this labor and struggle. That's the Babylonian debt slave mentality. That's the I have to take care of everything. I must put the yoke and the burden of labor on my back, and I gotta like carry myself like a slave everywhere I go. I gotta work so hard. You see, that is the modern version of, you know, this whole Egyptian slavery thing that never ended. Okay, Egyptian bondage, all this sorcery never ended. It's still here today, and that's what it is. So I don't want to, I'm not trying to diss you, Raph, and I'm not trying to make it or belittle what you're saying, but I went through that in my 20s, okay? I was in electrical apprenticeship school and I was working all the time and I had a full-time bodybuilding schedule and I played hockey on the side. And then one day I looked at my life and I said, I hate my life. And I said, I'm done. And I just quit. And I laid on my bed for a month. And obviously I went broke and everybody laughed at me. And then I went to work at a gym for $7 an hour. And everybody says, oh my God, you threw away your future. You're never going to amount to anything. You were an electrician. Oh my God, now you're nothing. And then all of a sudden I became, you know, in my joy with fitness, and I made millions of dollars in sales doing fitness sales. Well, guess what? What the hell do they know? Don't listen to anybody but yourself. They're all fools. Unless they're encouraging you because they've actually done something, you should never listen to anybody else. All right. So Brandon says, what are the dates again in December? It's the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So anybody else? Let's see. Oh, that looks like it. So guess what? We are at the 1 hour mark. So I'm going to cut this off. I do encourage you to get access to this new workshop if you're ready for it. And if you're not ready for it, then, you know, follow the fastest path to your joy. That's what I leave you with. So take care. God bless, guys. Love you. And I'll see you not this Wednesday. I'll be doing live for the workshop, but I'll see you next Sunday. Next Sunday, I'll see you live again. Take care.